You take roll, please.
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Here.
Mrs. Dollar,
Here.
Mrs. Donahue,
Here.
Mrs. Tippin.
Here. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nancy. We need to.
And could I get a motion to adopt the agenda? I'll move. Donahue.
I'll start with you guys.
You found it?
Who was that?
Second.
Okay, there you go.
Any discussion?
So I guess I just wanted to clarify, so we're not discussing next week's?
No, we're still working on that. We're still,
Okay,
it'll be higher, it'll be like your new certified classified hires,
okay,
some of that.
But all the work sessions, when we made them up in January, we said that they're gonna be, we're gonna pick a topic or pick something to work on that needs to be addressed in the board.
And I'd like to see the next several work sessions be devoted to what we're trying to talk about tonight.
Okay.
This bigger picture, sort of talking about FMD, the planners, bringing in facilities commission, the committee underneath that. As we move forward, use that for those bigger ticket items.
Anything else? Would you roll this?
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
yes,
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mrs. Tippin.
yes.
I don't think we have any. Those we do this weekend. Right, and we'll. You want to do the session, please?
Why don't we start with B? Just for the special meeting, that'll be an E, shorter discussion. I need a meeting, I'll let Bob references, but I sent an email to a couple of you asked for clarifications, why we need them. You think it's a good idea to put on organization meeting in January moving forward. But some we haven't done before, but they do need to have that meeting. So Bob.
And June 30th came up because we like it late in the month. June 30th, based on.
Not as late as you can get.
That's late as you get, yeah. Based upon some schedules, that is the date that we've given, which we can work with them. We need it in the morning, would be good, because we've got to file some things with the county auditor's office right after that meeting. We'll come in with a final appropriations measure. We'll come in with at least temporary appropriations to begin the new year, final certificate of estimated resources. There's just some year-end things. If there's any transfers or advances, that would happen at that time. We plan on having the books closed by then. Things are moving along well. The cash summary is getting cleaned up. I indicated, other than federal funds right now, we have no negative cash balance. They've all been funds at this point, and a lot of those 019 funds, we read up 18 of them last week. I'm looking at another 10 or 15 now, and they're just small balance pieces. What I was able to do was I worked totally on just arts and science. We're in the titles, and so I found art supplies, and science supplies, and we paid for this year, and we just did some correcting entries, anywhere from a penny to $100. Most of them were in that, and anywhere from a penny to about $25. So it's just stuff that needs to be cleaned up. But the late meeting is very typical for school district. We usually do that.
So what time are we having that meeting?
That's why we're gonna bring it up tonight. What works for
Yeah.
you?
Okay.
Look for you.
We can get here anytime.
If you guys want to do it before work, I could.
That's what I guess before work. It won't take long.
Oh,
10 minutes.
I've had these in 2 weeks. I mean, they're quick. It's just, we'll have the forms for you. As to what the final stuff is, and we'll ask you to do a couple motions, and it's not really.
So I don't know if you guys all start work at the same time, like 8:30, no, that might.
7:30, but I can take a couple hour, I can take 2 hours leave.
And all we need is 3. All you got 3.
nothing controversial.
All boilerplate stuff, get things wrapped up. I would hope for them to get it.
I could do anytime, whatever
Yeah.
works for everybody. Very flexible, I think.
I'll do it for you.
What's convenient for you, Bob? I mean,
Hey, you know,
you have a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What time do you usually get here?
8-ish, but I mean, that's not a problem. I mean, set the alarm, get up and you go. So. Yeah, that would be a problem.
I mean, I could do 8. I can barely do 8, but I can do.
But if you need it early, I mean, if you need it at 7:30, then I would set it
I
at.
can do, I can do it.
Earlier? Shoot.
No, I can do I can take leave in 2-hour increments.
Cause I can just go in late and stay late, it's just like a half an hour or something. It's not usually.
So much jet.
You should.
They
cranked it up.
It should like, it was about 20 miles farther than I do it.
So 8, is that what we're saying?
8?
8 3 days?
I'll be,
That's fine.
I get here before that.
That's on the 30th. June 30th, on Monday, June 30th at 8 AM.
That's sent out. June 30th, 18.
Good.
Okay. And then just for tomorrow, Reagan, if you'd be here 9, not 9:30, they up to half hour.
Oh, boy, I don't know. Yeah, I can't.
We start our best negotiations in person.
It will be the best.
So
Wait,
you got your, right?
Yeah, well, right here.
Oh, thanks, sorry.
Off school course, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so on the agenda, you'll see creation of strategic educational planning committee. This, I thought a lot about this, and like I said in my email to the board Friday. He said, basically, this is the beginning of our strategic plan, if you will. And we've got, we've made a lot of moves and a lot of different things have happened over the year. We've made a lot of progress, and we righted the ship and studied some things. Now, I think now we're poised to move into the future. So I think I've given you this folder. I want to go over each of the documents with you and sort of give you an idea and plan what I'm looking at. And like I said, this is something that we would do together. Not going to get ahead of anybody, make sure that we're all involved. Once at the right time, we want community input. We've worked on this a lot over the years. So there's some things. FMD, who was the educational planner, just some documents in there from them as well. And they would like to start to spearhead some of this along from the facility side. So they'll incorporate all of what we've done this far. So moving forward. But so with that being said, I mean, I think one of the first things you need to do is have an understanding of projections and from an enrollment standpoint. So we've got the first sheet in there is your enrollment. See the grid like this. All right, those are enrollments. Those are the trends since 2003. Now, those are students in seats. Those aren't necessarily the non-publics that we transport, the parochials, other units. Some of the like Upper Valley Career Center, they won't be in those numbers, but those are kids in seats here. Yeah, it varies a little bit, but it's pretty on point. I mean, you can see, like I always say, in 2014, we had 948 kids. 24, you got 2,064 kids.
Okay, Mike,
This one,
this side.
No, this one.
Oh, this one? Okay, so this one only goes to fifth grade.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
This, I just want to start with the trend. This is basically solid number year by year by year.
I have a general question. I'm not sure if you want to explain it more at the end or now. I'm not sure where this fits in with the academic committee as well as the facilities committee. It's a third committee then. Can you explain?
Well, I think they
the
should
scope?
all roll up into one, and this is why I think it's hard to do academics and facilities if we don't know how many kids we have. I just think part of the enrollment piece, and I can tell you that OFCC will give you projections, but they probably will not be accurate because they don't account for circumstances that we see that they won't. For example, when they opened the elementary building, it was capacity. You don't want to do that. So I think, there's projection companies out there that take into account, when I get a plot one like this, all the houses that haven't been built yet in carriage trails, I think those are the things that they need to know. Right? And then OFCC will not give you that accurate information. So when I say from an academic standpoint and a facility standpoint, if we don't know from a curricular standpoint and academic standpoint how many kids we have, how we're going to staff, how we're going to apply the resources, facility needs, what do we need moving forward, I think that's why they all work. I think good information, but I think that, again, we try to get out of the whole silo. We operate in silos. I got everybody sort of did their own thing, right? Beating the buildings. Now we're trying to work more together to bring more cohesive, and curriculum should, curriculum, for example, should go across the district, not just a building and a building. That curriculum should be aligned. And so we're moving that direction, but I think that to answer your question, Natalie, it's facilities and academics. I think you need to know how many kids you got moving forward. Best to the best of your ability.
Thanks. I mean, when I first read that on the agenda with the word educational in there, I wasn't sure if we were going to be geared more towards curriculum. I didn't know where we were headed.
Yeah.
So
Well,
with the
like I said,
committee.
we
thanks.
guys approved a couple of positions, and I appreciate the support, and they're going to align some things. I think you're going to see some numbers in here that jump out at you. But I think from, like I said, curriculum standpoint, space, facility, all those things, I mean, they all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think, as we move forward, the curriculum lines up with, does it make sense? But, third needs to talk to fourth needs to talk to fifth, six needs to talk to seven, and vice versa. 6 to 5. We got to make sense. So anyway, that's when we talk about that. It's it's sort of it's a sensible way to put everything together. What people have been working on and work together.
Well, that just helps explain, so there's data in here, there's some information in here. I just wanted to make sure that as I'm absorbing it, I know what the end result is. I mean, that's just, I was just trying to figure out where all this fit in together.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Does this include like our CTC kids and,
No,
so this is
no,
just.
I said these are like the kids in seats
Okay.
here.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
it won't count for your non-pubs,
Okay.
charter,
Mhm.
those.
Okay.
We've got kids in units that aren't here. There's some.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank
yeah,
you.
midnight, I think we've got a couple kids up about like Career Center. They wouldn't be in the CTC number.
Mhm.
So. But that's that. If you go to this spreadsheet. This is the second one. This is an enrollment chart. This is 2005. So what it does is it breaks down by kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. If you look at the bottom there, we had 2 young 5 classes in years past. Interesting enough, we will only have 1 young 5 this year because our enrollment's dropped off. We don't have enough kids to justify 2 teachers. So they'll be down to 1 young 5 classroom. The other one was transferred to kindergarten, we didn't section.
So we didn't have to push them away, just that we don't have the people that want to come
No, yeah, there just wasn't an interest, there's been a decline. Like I said, I think, I've been through growth before in districts, I think you're gonna see some steady growth and then you're gonna see sort of a larger uptick. Then it'll start to be slow. I think if we can right size now, we're gonna use the elementary, right, for the kids. Some of those kids were in that building before, now they're back over. But if we can right size this and buy some time, I think we should be okay from a staffing standpoint and a facility standpoint, at least for a couple of years till we get things situated, right? But I think you're gonna start, you're probably gonna see another 100 kids this coming year, which will absorb. We try to keep our class sizes around between 20 and 25, and hopefully next year it'll maybe 22, 23 to 27. We want to hire more staff, but we're trying to right size it now, get things done. So I don't want, we didn't want kids in trailers, we didn't want kids, that's a nightmare, just trying to get out of buildings to get to gym and lunch and everything else, so. We're looking at putting the administrative office in a trailer, but that's different for walking.
And the parents didn't want the kids in trailers.
I don't blame.
They did not want that.
It's difficult. I mean, my own kids were in trailers once at Douglas, it's like, you have to put the walkways in the office. So at the end of the day, if you watch a sixth grader try to cross buildings out here with their hands full, I mean, going from a trailer back to the school is gonna be not good. So this way they got access to everything. Also on this enrollment chart here, you'll see the middle school, the boys and girls, the total, so our 7th and 8th grade, they have increased since that. So they're both over a couple hundred, I believe, at this point, once we get all our data in. And then there's the high school numbers, and then you see the career center. And then the monthly enrollment, which is another thing, like see in August, it was 2,057. By the time we get to May, it's 2,040. So we lost 17 kids over the course of the year. That a lot has to do with, we've got somewhat of a transient population with right path. So kids come and go, but it's not, at this point, I think we've done everything we could do to handle what we've got. If you look at the gifted students, there's a breakdown by buildings. Students with disabilities, there's a breakdown, and that's actually very low compared to state averages, just as an FYI. And then you can see the English language learners by building. So you're looking at 7% of our kids with disabilities, 16% English language learners. There's just some stats down there at the bottom.
So why does it say we have 0% of students identified as gifted? We have 298.
I don't think that printed off.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing about gifted too. I'm glad you brought it up though. So gifted, what I'd like to see here is us really work with our gifted kids as well. A lot of times schools will identify them and then don't do anything with them.
Because that's required, right?
Because that's what you're required to do, like Churchill used to say, right? Sometimes do your best isn't good enough, you gotta do what's required. Well, this is the opposite, right? This is what required, let's do that. And I think we can service these kids, and we've got some things set up structurally where we can service all these kids. With special education, if there's whatever end of the continuum you're on. I just don't, our numbers are low. And there's really, it's shocking to me how low it is.
Low because they're under-identified.
I think they're under-identified. Which is problematic in numerous areas, right? Scores is one, just the fear of taking care of our kids is the other.
Yeah, that's important.
Why don't we? So, I think we're trying to fix that. I've dealt with a lot of special ed stuff this past year. And I think we're on the right track. Parents have been pretty thankful for what we tried to do this past year. So, but like I said, those are things that, like I said, when I got here, I think these kids are great. I think the staff's great. I really like the community. I think it's if somebody sticks around and takes care of it, I think they can really be successful. So I think it's a good place. So
So what makes up students with disabilities? Is that like 504s all the way up to the kids that have multiple, is it multiple disabilities equal? Is it, so it's that whole spectrum?
Whole spectrum. Which is low, very low.
That is a low percentage.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, I mean. It's which I feel bad, you know, it's difficult, right? It's hard on the kids, hard on the teachers, so we gotta do some changes here. So we're gonna dig down. We start talking about it already, I'm gonna talk about it this year. I do wanna, you know, commend the principals and the teachers too. They learned more about special ed this year than they ever have. So, and they've enjoyed it. I mean, most of them say it was a lot of work, but we got to know more about it than we ever did. So, just make them more aware. So that's the enrollment chart. You know, you've got the trends from year to year, and then you've got sort of a breakdown by grade, school, career center, disabilities, you know, ELL. And once we get the final numbers through EMIS, I can update this. But we won't have it yet. Any questions on those documents?
And then the ELL kids, do they stop being identified as ELL when they get a certain like milestone? No, they're all.
Well, I think after 3, I'd have to ask Angela this. I don't know the answer.
That's me. I'm just curious.
I think it's after so many years they become not identified.
Right.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just remember the
That is 4s and 5s. And once they do that, they're kind of watched and then they become often considered 4s and 5s across the board on all those
Under
sections.
11.
Yeah.
And, you know, and to that point, we looked at somebody that actually spoke Russian today that we could hire, and we found somebody that speaks Turkish. Because I mean, like, we were getting people like from China, which is fine, but we don't have any kids that speak Chinese. Doesn't help. I mean, they're a different language, but
Yeah.
I mean, why do you want to hire them? So we went back to the drawing board and found people that actually speak the language that these kids speak. So that part was good.
Although when we had that workshop, the one person that presented said that that's not really always the best way.
Some people have said that, but I do think we've seen it here. I mean, when I did the ESL, we had the language, we had the native speakers and spoke that language. I mean, it puts you in and I talked to Angela. I mean, we hired a Chinese person. She quit.
Right.
But you know, the rationale behind that, because I asked the question, she's like, well, maybe it's not ideal, but they still learn and understand different language, you know, the fact that you don't understand English. You know, there's some theory to it, some logic, but I still think after I've done it, I still think it helps with the teacher can speak the language. Home middle school, but I think it helps.
So would these be the numbers that FMD uses to start doing projections for CT2? Is that?
So FMD has these, and I've got them from Bill Eagler, and then he's supposed to meet with me. I went out and talked to the developer 2 weeks ago, and they have 50 homes that'll be built between now. I think it's 50 homes between now and the end of this calendar. That's it.
Between now and when?
End of the calendar. So. And then, you know, I said, and I'll finalize these, firm these up, but you know, they said maybe 100 per year. What's that?
That's what I heard too when I was
Yeah. About 100 per year till it's built out, then they're done.
And then he could probably, is that when we would start figuring out what kind of families are coming, like with what school age kids?
Yeah, he's gonna sit down with me and tell me, okay, here's the type of homes we got. I mean, he won't know for sure,
Right.
But when I talked to FMD, if you remember Tim Ruzick and Melanie that were here that night. So there's a school district that did some really spot on projections for a school that they just worked with an OSCC, but it was a growing district like this. They took all these things into consideration. And they came up with a pretty spot on, I think the name was College Station. But came up with a pretty spot on, that's who they are talking to on our behalf. And what I said, they would like to come down here start to, engage in these work sessions, engage with the facilities committee and some of those things. And as we move forward and bring that in, it's like I said, we got to get a handle on who's coming, what do we want to do internally, and then get feedback from people, and then we need some surveys in the community and all that stuff. I want to hear from everybody. We need a place to start, but here's where we're at.
Just two things since you brought up FMD. I think we're still waiting to get a copy of their presentation that they presented to us in February. We asked for that
But you don't have
as
that
the
yet.
board and we did not get
The
it.
survey,
Yeah,
We got survey.
Well, the survey
No,
with
the-
the presentation, like their PowerPoint that they
Oh,
had
okay.
done.
yeah,
that's an easy one.
yeah.
Okay,
And then we had
that's
some follow-up questions. I know that I asked for them to do some comparison to come up with things that overlapped, so that can help us prioritize. And then just wanted to ask, so I know, Melanie, right? Melanie was talking about that if we wanted any information, we would have to go to talk to the OFCC because it didn't sound like they did that for us. So is that something that we still need to do?
The OFCC, as she brought up, that was where they would do the enrollment projection.
Yeah,
And we decided not to go that route because they did the last one, and they've done others in the past, and they're usually not accurate. That's why I'm just talking about.
yeah, you were just. But don't they? Okay, we don't go to them for projection, but don't they have to sign off on what we projected?
Not necessarily. I mean, this is, we just,
Only if you want to take money from them, right?
yeah, we're not there yet. I mean,
Okay,
if anything, they have their manuals, right? You have to stick to their manuals, and do anything outside the manual becomes a locally funded initiative, and all those things. But right now, we want to get a grasp on it. Honestly, what we've got coming in here and ways to move forward. We're not near a bond issue yet. For a building. And the other thing too is we have to see, because this was an elk project over here. Like the node, and we still have this conversation about that on the money side on that. Because that's what they wrote. Their number came up once and passed, but it wasn't, and that reason it passed, I can understand we just weren't ready. So there's some logic to that too, which they can shut down. So,
we have top on the list again. Thank you.
yeah. And if you went to, and I pulled their minutes too, from the last meeting. So I read through those, and there's some things here that they can help with you as well.
From our May meeting or from the April meeting?
This would have been from May 14th.
Oh.
So I reviewed those, but thanks for that.
Thank
And then if you look at in your packet, you've got this from FMD themselves. Like I said, this was an update they provided just for you all for the work session. And I'm not going to sit here and read it to you, but these are, this goes back to what I said about the enrollment company. They have the same charts and trends that I gave you that they have for their data. We talked about, enrollment projection. We told them, we cannot open another building at capacity, just doesn't make sense. And then we talked about proposed athletic programs, and Bob, we talked a little bit about the capital improvement plan, which he's going to go over, I think, here in a little bit. But we talked about locker rooms, weight rooms, multi-purpose rooms. If you go through, there's just a lot of things that got cut out of that original project due to budget. And there's a lot of them. And then the last page was the summer projects not requiring a permit. So this comes back from the interview that they did with staff. We've got there's a local sign vendor here in Bethel. The desired graphic, which is the facility of the classroom. So this hallway, these classrooms all the glass, right? So not ideal. It's a fishbowl, hard to teach in a fishbowl. the, and it's a safety issue. One of the things that, I'm working on this summer with all of this is we have a safety plan and it all rolls up together, right? Your safety plan is part of your strategic plan, just how you keep everybody safe. Every 3 years, the state of Ohio has to redo their safety plan. Ours is up this year. So we have to submit a new safety plan this summer. When I got here last summer, I had to update some stuff, I had to change some stuff that was incorrect, then I fixed that and moved forward. So Scott Lade, who was our SRO, middle school and high school, it's gonna run point on that because, who better to run your safety plan than the deputy? And they've got access to all the tools. So he's gonna run point on that. He'll oversee safety and security, in conjunction with the administrators. Him and I work a lot together. He just did a nice job with safety count for all our preschool kids here last week, so that was nice. All the deputies came out. But so we work on that, and then the summer work without you don't need a permit. You can just see that. Those are some of the things that came up during the interviews with staff. And those are some things that we can do to create more space, not this summer, next, over time, create more classroom space. But, I think we've got to the point of weather the storm, if you will, first year that I was here. We've got some things ironed out. We fixed some things. We've settled a lot of things. And I think now it's time to start moving forward in a proactive way and doing the best we can for kids in the district. I'd like you all to be a part of it. So that's the proposal. Like I said, I just want to move it along. I want this to be a board census board meeting, work session, move you all along so we're all on the same page. And this is just some aerial views they took that day. It gives you an idea of, if you're going to do something with, we have a lot of land here. I mean, that's one of the nice things. We have a lot of land here is, is there discussion from a facility standpoint, build a building, carriage trail, or you build one here? I mean, that's all on the table. I don't think anybody's heavily opposed to one way or the other, but, Bill and I talked, it was on the table to put a school building up there several years ago. Now I don't know how interested he is in doing it. So, but we'll talk. We'll have that conversation. So we're going to look at it. Do what we want to do. Yes.
This is a good list, but from FMD, I know it's just a start, but I don't see really any classroom other than there's no educational things in here. They're all, I mean, I know it's categorized, right? Athletic program.
That doesn't mean it's first. That was just the biggest thing that got cut out of the original. They're trying to say we've got a great field for soccer, football, and all that. But the porta johns are next to the concession stand, no running water, all those things, right? That's a problem. But if as far as like the garage doors, item B now with 3B, these would be additional classroom versus garage doors. We've got places where we can fill in walls and make classroom.
Well, they already are 2 classrooms, like Mr. Brookhart's, well, I didn't even know him, but he had a garage door there, and between him and somebody else, and there were 2 classes in there. So
then the elementaries too, they said we put in partitions on those open spaces. That's something they could want.
yeah,
So
I know that they were built extra big for that.
yeah, I don't know why they didn't frame them.
Yeah.
I thought that they were gonna do some things this summer.
I don't think we're gonna get there this summer. I mean, we can do some things this summer without permits, but with the length of it's taking time to do certain things, and by the time we get our office out, if this one rebuilt, redone for the kids. But you could do some things this summer. You just have to be these type of items without permit. You're not gonna find everything. I don't think you have time to do permitting and drawings and everything else. But like I said, I think we move into this and we can pick up a couple of additional classrooms that could be decent shape. Sure.
So we can frame the classrooms without.
Yeah, some of that stuff doesn't need permitted. Not for certain. Like, that's one of the reasons we looked at trailers for our office. You know, we looked at, we were gonna use that, what was it, the old library and cafeteria, for one of the units were. So they go to, so we picked up an extra unit, so all our Bethel kids are back with us, so that's. So we got 2 units at the elementary and 1 at the middle school. So they were using that room down there. And Todd and I looked at it. And you could frame it, make offices out of it. It wasn't cheap. And I'm like, and Todd and I just didn't think it made a lot of sense to us, because what if we wanted to use that for something else and need to tear it down? You know, we've already got, for adults, we've already got the electric and water and they went to the. And the footers are out there behind the bus garage. So everything's already out there. So we'll probably just get the trailer. Yeah.
So you are planning on putting the central office in a trailer?
Yes. We don't have anywhere else to go.
Gotcha. No, last I heard you were still on the cafeteria plan.
Yeah, the Todd and I, before we thought about it, we talked to Jen, we talked to Bob. And I just, we landed on the fact that. If we tear it, so I'm afraid of wasting money, what if we have to get back to it? I got to tear it up. And if we got extra space, we got extra space. I don't care if we're out in the trailer. So. And I mean, they're the packs.
You'll be able to get that in place before the.
Oh, yeah, that's timing's not an issue, but Todd and I talked about that. The bigger issue on timing would be to actually structurally build the offices. That would be slower. Drawings, permits, everything else. We don't need the trailer.
So are they gonna be able to put up some of the glass protected
Yes.
stuff this summer?
Those are all things they could do this summer.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just talked to them recently.
I misunderstood you. I thought you meant
I
this
thought you
was
said
next summer.
the next summer too.
No, I said, no, meaning something this summer. The things are on this list, things we do this summer.
This second page, okay. Looks good.
Yeah, possible summer project, not needing a permit. That's all this summer. Sorry,
Over some.
I'm sorry,
That's okay.
you misunderstood. I was talking about other projects next summer. Because there's a list of them. If you look at that survey that you got from the staff, there's a lot on. So,
And plus, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, right? Because then if they come back and say, okay, we're gonna need this for this, and we keep moving things back and forth.
yeah, as I said, I try not to, it's like I told them, I said, I don't want. When we move forward here, I don't want you to place something somewhere. Where you come back to me or whoever 2 years ago, we gotta tear this out.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. So I mean, you've got plenty of land, you've got some time. Have the vision and the foresight and say, okay, here's what goes where.
Yeah.
And then move that on, and then move that plan forward. Cause I mean, this is a longer plan than a year or two plan. You know. I won't be here. Okay. Don't get too upset about it.
Like, we're really good.
I guess my concern is that kind of what Natalie was saying is that like this is. I get that we weren't able to do the field house, but this is pretty much. All. And it doesn't, it doesn't really address the academics.
Yeah, I think don't mistake their building plan for an academic plan. I think, like I said, the projections come first, so we see how much, room we need, right? I think that's ultimately the goal here. The reason that's on there is just because so much was cut from that elementary package, the stadium package.
That's how they had to sell it.
I wasn't here. All I know is that they told me everything was cut.
They did cut a lot.
Steel, during COVID, dressing, still dressing,
And one, I'd say that's an unfinished product. I mean, that's an unfinished project. They never did finish and wrap it all
Well,
up.
there was supposed to be an agreement with, I think, the boosters or something with that, and then it never happened, so I don't quite remember the whole the whole thing, but,
But the other
but
thing,
I think that there are parts of that that are necessary, and I think there's parts of this that are not necessary.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'd like this to be a work session, so we all got input.
right,
So, I'm not sitting around here and come to you on a Monday night, I don't like that idea.
but I think too, that's the one thing that I don't think is going to change, right? The football field is going to stay, the football field is going to stay where it's at.
So, yeah, we're not.
That's the one thing that we could finish up and wrap up that project on, that we know it's not gonna affect us in 2-3 years and come back and say, okay, we know the football field's gonna get moved, or this is gonna happen.
No, we're not moving that, but you're right, I mean, because if you think about it, we're changing athletic conferences in 2 years, so we'll start to see more. We'll start to see bigger crowds, we'll
Right.
start to see, more folks at, at games, and it just, it's not a bad issue, it's not a bad problem. It's just is what it is.
And a lot of people want the bathrooms, they want the field house, they want the snack bar done.
We heard that.
From the Porta Johns.
I mean, but I look at it not just athletic facilities too. I told you, like, I went to North Union the other day and looked at their facility. I was at Northmont probably a month ago and looked at their facility. I look at those as community spaces, like community buildings, right? We don't have anything. You don't have a city or, like Tip City, or you've got chambers of commerce and meeting space and restaurants. And you don't have that here. You have a few restaurants, but, and I like them, they're really good, but they're not great places to have meetings and those types of things, right? So if you could, ideally, move the athletic fields over here, look at PWP here, have a place for parents, a centralized location for everybody to belong. I just think it's a great concept. I mean, people have somewhere to go. So. But I just don't think it's just not athletic facility. I mean, if you want to have a community meeting, have it. If you want to have a fair parade, all roads that we had last summer. You could have, there's a lot of things you could do from a community standpoint. When I go to do things, I think of things I'd like to do, and I really don't have space, sometimes to say, hey, everybody meet at 6 o'clock on Thursday. I mean, some of our football games on Friday night, people parked all over the grass and things like that. So I don't think don't get hung up on it. I'm gonna get hung up on the fact that it's all it's a lot of solicited, but I look at that as a community engagement piece.
I just want to make sure that the funding is appropriate, because what we need, we're gonna need additional space soon, and I know that there was a lot, I just want to make sure that those funds that were raised on behalf of that get used for that, from the booster side, as well as all the collections that were done from all the class, for the bricks and all that. There was that plan in place. I just don't want it to be, and if somebody can bring you up to speed on that, if you haven't had
Natalie, I think I appreciate that, and
a chance to do that.
Bob just asked a question I knew he was going to ask. Where is all that? So I don't have, when I got here, obviously things happen and I don't get a good idea where things were. Jenny and Bob have been here for many months now. Trying to, sort a few things out, if you will. So I think I've had the conversation with Todd and Damon, but there was, to your point, there was boosters, there was pledge money, there was a lot of different things going on.
Mhm.
And the boosters did pay for the bleachers. I think I donated 50,000 for those. But to your point, we are getting a better handle on it. Just boosters, also PTOs and all those organizations that aren't directly related to us, but are satellite organization. So, but I agree with you, and I am aware of it. And we're looking into it. Like I said, they gave 50,000 for bleachers, and there's a question of like the pledges and the bricks and things like that. So,
Yeah, but we got some nice donations from like Edison State.
yeah, because we did, because I mean, that, Damon and I talked about that. It's a reoccurring revenue from Edison with their tarps on the field.
and the Hammond Foundation and, I think Meyer even,
Yeah, there's,
So there was
there's
some
some good stuff.
significant, yeah.
Yeah, it was significant dollars.
And then, you know, the school funding our COVID money bought the field, so.
All the,
Yeah. La, 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 la.
you know,
Outdoor learning spaces.
There you go.
Yeah,
Is what it.
there you go.
yes,
Perfect.
in case of emergencies.
Yes, it's a great classroom. It's a great classroom. One of the best we got. It's the biggest.
Yeah.
It's the biggest. So no, I just, like I said, I wanted to get you some of these updates. I want to start, we're going to turn the throttle up, if you will, on this. And like I said, in my email Friday, I look forward to working with all. I know Bob's got a couple things that he wanted to share. Don't you?
Sure.
Yeah, but you don't have to.
Well,
You wanted to.
we do want to keep you updated on a couple things. I'm quick. I won't take very much of your time. We shared this with you, I believe, last meeting. No change in this other than the fact where it says fund, I've changed those all to 7 instead of 3. And this was simply the work of the administrative group. Again, it's as to areas we see needs where you need to maintain some things. And not that you're going to do all these things, but as you're aware, the budget process is going through right now. There was a 30% proposal out there that if we had more than 30% of last year's expenditures on hand at June 30th, that would get raked back in by the county auditor's office over the next year and the next tax. Now that number's moved to 50%. The Senate omnibus bill, and by that I mean the final bill coming out of the Senate will come out this week. That will get, in all likelihood, voted, and it'll be sent over to the House. They'll not concur, and it goes to conference committee the following week. And so three members from each, the House and the Senate, get in a room and they start hammering things out. So we'll end up at 50%. Who knows? Could end up 40%. I do know the calculation for that is not just as simple as it. It's not simply 50% of last year's. It's, you know, there's an allowance from the calculations that I've seen so far that's starting to bounce around out there that says you take into consideration June 30th encumbrances, reduce that, and you take into consideration summer pay rates, through pay rates, because teachers are paid over 24 pays. Their work doesn't take that long, so that, basically there's about 5 days there, or certainly 3 in the summer that will qualify. So that would reduce it down further as well. So we'll watch. We'll see where it goes. This is just a document to show the district is planning. They can continually move. Again, I've used that in a previous district, and we did it as an administrative document just to really follow what kind of things we're doing. Summer maintenance, all kinds of stuff. So we're kind of just getting started with that, but it does show that we've got some planning in place. Should we need to move any dollars right now, you wouldn't need to move any dollars. If we do, we're going to move into Fund 70. That also will come through on that June 3rd meeting. We'll have to make a decision one way or the other based upon what we know at the time. So we may have a budget, we may not. House Bill 343 is out there being talked about. And it's got several things in it. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm going to talk to you about the piece where they want to get rid of inside millage. There's 10 inside mills in every taxing district shared by the township, which is not included in that piece. And if you have a city, county, those type, all those are school district being always the large player there, you have 4.5. So you have an assessed value of 211.8 million. You have tax increment financing that of the houses and in your 4 different pilot agreements that are 190 million, and those function in this way just exactly like the others do. There is inside millage there. You are getting that through a payment in lieu of tax. So you put those two together, you're just over 402 million. You divide it by 1,000 to get a unit. A taxing unit is what I call it, 402,288 multiplied by 4.5, your annual potential loss. If that would go through, it's 1.8. Most of that being general fund, some of it would be in the 07 because of when the payment is posted for resolution. So I've kept that calculation very simple for you. It wouldn't happen in 1 year that way because of tax year versus fiscal year, so it'd be implemented partially the first year and the rest of the second year. But we did want you to be aware of what that potential impact is. Does it happen? That's gonna be a tough one. And Hamilton's number is 6 million. If it happens, then there's numbers out there a lot bigger than that. So we will just watch and see where that goes. But we want to let you know what we know at this point. That's all really I have tonight. No more news.
I was gonna feel that's a real up note.
Thank your local legislator.
Yeah. Or something.
Any questions for us?
How are we on getting the phone lockers or?
So, yeah, so Scott Lay brought up to be, plenty of time. We're looking at lockers now that are, there's more lockers than I imagined. Amazon does quite a nice job with cell phone lockers. So Scott's brought in fact, the folder's sitting on the end of my desk and probably look at those tomorrow night after negotiations. So, yeah, we're looking at putting them in the classroom. They're actually, cheaper than bags. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. So we ordered those and I'm sure somebody's a prime, we'll probably be the next day, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, but that seems to be the best bet, so. And it looks like the state law is gonna pass that in for themselves, so, yeah. If anybody says anything, say, hey, let's be proactive,
Exactly.
preemptive.
Before Amazon sells out.
Mhm. That's a good point too.
But, yeah. Yeah, no, it's busy summer. So putting lockers up now outside of my office and
Everywhere.
sounds like I'm at the dentist all day.
Oh, does
that?
Oh, scratching the chalkboard with their fingernails.
I did have a question. I just didn't know if Todd had a chance to look at this, or in the middle school area, there's no projected allocated expenses or funding plan for the mechanical areas.
Todd helps with breakthroughs.
Okay, I just noticed there's nothing assigned to that.
There's nothing for mechanical though, like for any of the buildings, and that seems a little hard to believe that there's no mechanical repairs for the
Then
next.
there's certainly gonna be
10
more.
years.
Yeah. Certainly gonna, oh, yeah, we weren't even
It's not-
trying to get to the 10-year mark. We were concerned about
Right.
the near term.
It's all zeros. I mean, even for the next 3, I mean, it's all zeros. In every building, it's all zeros.
Yeah, so there's certainly more work to be done on it. It was the result of just a couple hour meeting. First blush through it. It does what we need for right now, but we do have more.
Right, but it's pretty much all athletics. And
I
very,
was-
very little other
Had a part of it,
things.
yeah. Well, certainly because one of the potential things on there when we were looking at possibly having to do as much as $3 million with the first proposal we saw. The big.
But there's also the option that you had suggested that you can take that money and move that into.
Yeah, that's how you-
into the other fund.
Yeah,
You
now,
don't have to necessarily spend it all right away.
we are now finding out since then that you would have 2 to 3 years, but that came out well after these meetings, that particular piece, that you would have any kind of time to do. The Fund 70 would be just where we would move it to do that, and the reason we picked Fund 70 is we don't have to have a court order to move it back. We could also pick Fund 3, permanent improvement. But that is,
Stay.
that stays.
Yeah.
Or you can, so it's just more difficult to deal with. So this is gives you the most flexibility. Again, this is just a start. And And they just had a couple hours really to deal with that particular piece. And when you see numbers out in year 10, those are things we thought it very well could be beyond. A lot of them.
These are just by, the buildings and in no particular order, right? Not prioritized or anything.
The only prioritize you would have is the fact of which you're pursuing. And some of that was done by me. As far as you needing to hit a number in the first year, need to be some kind of number in there. So to that point, yes, but when you're using that document, you'll want to set it up so that the parking lots being sealed is a good example. Those you generally hit about every 5 years. And so based on which building you have, you can pretty much, you did this year, well, you do it 6 years down the road. And that's the way we do those, at least what we've done in the past. And it's worked well for us. Again, we have sat down every year, a couple times a year, historically, when I've used this, and we talk and pull out the record and say, okay, what did we do? What did we thought? This is what we thought we would do. What did we actually? They're never the same. Things happen. And priorities come up.
Things fail.
Something fails, has to be done right now. Maybe it gets moved up from the previous year. We thought we had another year. But as we get more into it with the staff, they'll come up with even more things. I want to make sure that they're taking care of HVAC, doing filters, taking care of the equipment you have in these new buildings. All and Todd.
Is there any problem with me? Do you have any issues with me sharing this one with the facilities committee?
Sure, anything I gave you.
And I do want to say thank you for getting the numbers for the size of classes this year.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, like I said, I waited till like the end of May, right? I got at least most accurate. But it's a good breakdown.
Thank you.
And then when we get done with, and just so you all know, when we get done with the summer months, everybody's transferred and hired, and I'll give you all the stats. So yeah, right now it's still fluid.
Gotta get past July 10th.
Gotta get back.
Get the, pass that drop dead.
Yep. So thank you. You're welcome.
So, in case I missed it, now that we have this, what are the next steps then?
So I'm gonna start to provide documentation to the board. I'll give you information. I think our next work session, I think we should have a conversation about this. I'd like to bring FND down. A conversation with the board and just move this along from strategic plan. And incorporate things into it. They're good at what they do. We've done this before. I've done it before. I think, and then like I said in the email, it's a long process, but it's a rewarding process. We'll eventually start to reach out, get community input, right? Right now, internally, we need to figure out exactly a couple of things we got to get figured out right now. Right? And then I think moving forward, so the process would be, this is a living, breathing document moving forward, and your strategic plan, this what we talked about tonight. There's so many things that fold up into that. There is the security plan, there's the things you've been working on. So buildings and grounds, mechanic, all those things, academic, space, logistics, transportation, all those things. I think we're still working out some of the times for transportation, if you will. Right? We've got some non-publics and charters that are middle of the day. We've just got CTC schedule, so we're trying to tweak it to where teachers have a 0 period. Because last year they didn't have any. There was no time for a staff meeting or a planning meeting or anything. The elementary had a little bit of time, but 7 through 12 had 0. So it's an ongoing document, and then as the year goes on, what worked, what didn't, improve on it. Your plan is your roadmap. Once it's set on this path and continue to adjust it, I think it's a good document to have. Brings in everybody's wishes and you give an idea of, at least have a conversation. Yeah, you're not, I mean, I've been around long enough to know you are not going to make everybody happy. But you're asking more than two people. But I mean, as long as you're heard and you do things that make sense and you have reasons for them. Nationwide, I think most people are okay with that. Those are next thing.
So our next workshop meeting would be in August then. So shortly before school starts, will some of this be accomplished then? Sorry,
Yeah, I think so.
okay.
I'll give you updates. I
Okay.
would like to see some of the window coverage, right? I just. Scott and I talked at length about it. Everybody that comes in here, the first thing they say is, "Oh my God." I mean, and I walk down there, I'll go to the lunchroom or something. I mean,
Everybody's
they're just nice kids. They're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "No." You can't get anywhere without ruining a classroom environment, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Interacting.
even when I just don't even look, I still see people go like this. And I'm like, so, and from a security standpoint too, I'm like, Casey's got the worst group here. I mean, it's surrounded, but I think, I talked to them just fairly recently, that the coverings is something to be done. They should be, especially that lower level you walk by, especially top.
Yeah.
Can't see it. So, I'll just, like I said, I'll keep you updated as we go.
Are there any grants that anybody's looking for? Because I know like the front door and the back door and the end door were funded by like $80,000 grant.
Safety
We
grant.
did get a safety grant for 40,000, wait to see if we get the other part.
For what, I'm sorry?
There was two parts to the safety grant, we got one for 40.
Nice.
We got that one, and we're waiting to hear on the second part,
Okay, oh, that's good.
but I haven't told you yet, because I was told we got it, but I haven't seen the money, so. Burden in. Except for budget. They told me I got it, they said we got it, let's make sure we get it.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
That's good. Anything else that is out there for grants of any kind? Does somebody go out and regularly look?
I mean, they do a pretty good job of looking at things, and Jason does, Scott does, the both principals do, it's, there's some. Do we qualify, what are the requirements, I help people, I write letters of recommendation for grants.
That's good.
I'm Julie.
Yep.
See,
Thank you.
you're welcome. But yeah, so we're doing that. Hope we get that. I went by pickleball courts the other day, they were packed.
Yeah, November.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Tell us.
Cool. But yeah, we look, sometimes they don't apply
Oh, yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, they got to fix the mission.
fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I have a question. May I ask it?
Oh.
A lot of times you throw out first names and I don't know who they are.
You see what?
Sometimes you'll give me out, you'll say a name, and I don't know who that is or what department that is or
Oh,
the last name. And number two, will I have the same copy of the procedures that you gave the board members from you and the treasurer, so I can pick it up next week?
I think you can have mine now.
Okay.
Can I post them?
Yeah, there's extra copies over
I
here.
mean, why is it in the agenda? Because we sit here blind.
I'm very blind.
Is this what you made the request for? Was it this stuff?
What you handed out to board members and what he handed out.
Yeah, no, did you make the request? Was it for?
Yeah, I wanted 22 to 21,
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
because that's what's missing from my old charts.
Got it. Okay.
There's extra copies here.
But I mean, why isn't it attached to the agenda? That's always my question, right? Why isn't it out there? Oh,
Well, I mean, a lot of times I talk to the board about it first. We have the discussion, we can post it. I don't like to get ahead of them either. They hadn't seen it yet either.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
I can appreciate that. It's just, I just like to have, since they have their copy, I like to have a copy.
and you can do that. I have not withheld anything from you,
Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Sure.
and we'll do a better, I'll do a better job with who they are. Got it. All right,
Hey, I'm sorry, one last question. Is there a good date to keep this was the June version and the other version was May?
Yeah, and
Is that
and the
fair?
only difference is the fund number.
Yeah.
I didn't change the dollar, I didn't change it at all.
Oh, okay,
So they're literally the same.
Okay. thanks.
I think they both bring this. All together. Updates.
Bob loves spending time with me.
It
What better
shows.
things could I be doing?
And a meaningful financial analysis.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move. I'll second. No discussion.
Yeah. Ms. Linsky,
Yes.
Ms. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes.
Ms. Tiffany.
Yes. And.
Oh, he's younger. Yeah.
Okay, we're off.
Turning my spot.
Turn off the
Computer.
computer.
Well, not that computer's off.
Hold on.
He left it over there. He didn't bring it over.
Oh, thanks, Rachel.
Uh-huh.
We didn't say anything bad, we said over under.
Just
Yeah, they don't know what we're talking about.
in case it goes downhill.
Okay.
God sakes.
You know what, we're gonna, here's what I can do.
Oh, no, I've done these before, I think.
And